Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today's guest is someone who's built a powerful reputation for helping people reconnect with authenticity, play, self-awareness, and spiritual clarity in a world that often feels disconnected and overly serious. Shaman Ryan blends spirituality, emotional mastery, embodiment, and deep self-inquiry in a way that's both grounding and genuinely transformative. Through his teachings, online presence, podcast conversations, and newly launched coursework, he explores how healing isn't about escaping life. It's about becoming more present, more honest, more playful, and more connected to who you really are underneath conditioning, shame, fear, and performance. A huge part of Ryan's message is that true growth and self-mastery eventually lead you back to simplicity, back to authenticity, connection, expression, community, and even fun. Today, we're diving into consciousness, emotional freedom, spirituality, self-expression, and what it really means to live truthfully in modern life. Everyone welcome Shaman Ryan. Ryan, Mr. FunMaxing, thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm super swell. I'm so happy to have you. I think that play is such an important part of life. And I think that there's no better person to speak to today than you. So for those of the listeners who don't know you or haven't heard of your work before, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Ryan Maloney, but I go by Shaman Ryan online. I've been into the spiritual and shamanism type world since I was a kid. I always felt sort of like life was a game and really had a lot of fun with animals and felt connected to nature and crystals. And my grandma and my grandpa are shaman and are shamans, and it was very nice to have them throughout my journey because it gave me a way to explore that, because my family's great but very conventional, so it gave me an outlet to explore it. And then fast forward into college, I wanted to take it further. I'd been partying a lot and feeling really out of alignment, and I had a fall where what we can get to later that really kind of jarred me and reset me of, why am I suffocating this part of myself? What am I trying to fit in for? And through a weird synchronicity of a friend, he's like, my buddy is super into the shamanism. He's in this academy. You should talk to him and just see if you're interested. And we end up talking. Now his name's Alex. He's one of my best friends for 5 years now. We talk all the time, and he led me to the community, Antahai, and it's where I learned quantum Reiki. Definitely check out Antahai Ascension Academy. The wisdom I learned from there is unmatchable. I mean, truly, it was just an awesome experience. I still talk to all the fellow shamans I met in there to this day. So that was in 2021, and I was a junior in college. And yeah, then I just, from then on, practiced every day and got certified in 2023 as a level 3 Reiki instructor. I got certified before, but like my level 3 was the big one where I could teach it.
Wow.
And then, yeah, I mean, I've practiced every day since then. So that's sort of how I got into shamanism.
That's incredible. I think that's such a powerful practice as well. What is one of the biggest changes to your character you've recognized from the consistency and dedication of that kind of work?
Yeah, I would say the biggest change is probably just the ability to see through what's happening. It really opened this, everything became glass sort of worldview that instead of trying to use my mind to understand everything, I just saw everything as see through. And I just saw what's actually there instead of what's trying to act like it's there. And whether that was for making decisions in my life, seeing people, their true intentions, and anything along those lines, it really was just the shift of seeing what's really right there, being present, and trusting my intuition. I feel like that is a huge thing that we start losing touch of as we get older, especially the more I got into partying and those sort of things. It wasn't all bad. We all have these stages for a reason, but my intuition wasn't as sharp. So it really brought me back into trusting my body. If I feel a yes or a no, I always feel my chest tighten or expand. And usually everyone has something different. Some people it might be similar, but it's just knowing your own body. What's your tick? How can you feel if something's aligned or misaligned? So really, yeah, seeing things clearly and getting back in touch with my intuition were probably the two biggest changes I learned from it. And then there's so many that you can't really list, but those are the two that definitely stand out to me, I would say.
That's incredible. And that makes you such a, it puts you in such a good position to be a leader and to lead people when you're a master of your own feeling. I'm really curious to know how this segues into fun maxing. For
Mhm.
example, when you're talking about fun maxing, do you think this is like a personality type or a person or group type of quality to have this level of like playfulness and fun incorporated in your life? Or do you feel like everyone has this like unrealized, untapped playfulness within them?
That's a very good question. I think that's multi-layered almost, because I would say that there's souls have a innate template that I think they come here for, and there's not necessarily a one size fits all. I think there's a lot of very different energies at play. I think that fun maxing could definitely help anyone. I don't know if it necessarily would resonate as the best format for everybody. Um, but I do think anyone could benefit from it. And really, what I would say is if you can just reconnect your inner child, then fun maxing becomes much easier. Um, and the shamanism ties into it because the more I kept studying through reading various modalities, because I'm a big reader too. I always am reading philosophy, spirituality, religion, self help, anything. Really, anything spiritual I want to consume and just see what's there. I don't think another part of fun maxing is just not having bias. And that's shamanism and fun maxing are very much the same in my eyes because you don't have a bias. You walk through all the worlds and you apply what resonates and you leave what doesn't. But you don't walk in with a judgment that anything's good or bad, like Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Taoism, whatever you walk through, you're open to seeing what resonates. So just by reading everything I have with an open mind, meditating on it, meditating, thinking about Hindu gods and goddesses, and just kind of going through all sorts of various formats, I feel like what I found in the center was fun. It truly felt like all the shamanism, the studying, being open led to fun. And what I'm getting at here is to me, that's why I think it applies to everybody because it wasn't just based on this one worldview. It was through reading all sorts of worldviews, all sorts of religions, interacting with people in general, because, and I'll get into that in a second, but it really felt like that was the Venn diagram of all the different religions and beliefs. What I found in the center was play. If you can just find a way to play with reality and flow as your most authentic self and be in that childlike state of fun, it's not being careless. It's just having a clear intention of who you are, which is why I love anime so much because Naruto, it's to be the Hokage. Luffy, it's to be the king of the pirates. It's very much that's their ascended self, the best version of themselves. And they have the image in their head and they let everything in their life flow to that moment. So it becomes very intuitive because you have this positive black hole that's just pulling you in with everything you do every moment. And the more you believe that, the more you get pulled into it. And I mean, the Bible says you must be like children, enter the kingdom of heaven. Taoism says effortless action is what's necessary. And the only form of action I've ever found effortless is when I'm playing and having fun. Like it's
Yeah.
just sort of through connecting all the dots. I just found fun in the middle. And it really just rings true for me. And from what I've seen from people connecting with the content, I think a lot of people feel that way because I have people that are Muslim, I have people Christian, all sorts of different religions kind of saying, hey, does this go against God or this or that? And I just sort of say, I think fun maxing can be a belief in itself. Like it could just be your belief system, or it's an addition. You
Yeah.
could add it on to any belief system. So I think that's why it's pretty versatile because it's not, if any, it's inclusive. There's nothing exclusive about it. It's anyone can tap into it. Anyone can apply it to any religion, no matter what your life history is, no matter what trauma, no matter anything. I truly believe that anyone can connect to that. So that, I guess that's
Yeah.
my answer in a roundabout way, is I think it's for everybody. And I think there is a group of souls that are here to spread that in particular, such as myself. I feel like that community I'm sort of working on building right now is souls that are in that sort of grouping where it's more natural for them to express that and reconnect people to their inner child and pull them out of the coldness of the sort of industrial world that we're sort of leaving right now, but also in the middle of. So it's yes to both. There's a pocket of people specifically meant to FunMax and share it, and then it also applies to everyone. So it's just trying to spark as many people back to their divine playfulness as possible, because living a life without play is just so depressing to me, and it's so sad to see people walk around with the light out of their eyes and afraid to goof around and taking everything so serious. It just feels very disconnected to me, and I would like anybody that I come across like that to just feel that warmth for just a second and to tell me that they don't want to feel that again. That's kind of the way I feel.
That's incredible. And I agree. I think once you see, you can't unsee that kind of result. Why do you think people feel so like deeply scared to like be foolish or to play?
You've got some good questions here. I would say these are good. People are afraid to play for a plethora of reasons. I think a lot of it comes from inner child trauma. And that's through my sessions with people. That's definitely the common denominator that I've taken away. Um, it's usually like I had a client who was bullied for not being the smartest when he was younger. I had a client who feels like their parents didn't give them enough support and guide them in their creativity, so they didn't get that praise and affirmation they needed to feel like it was okay to keep exploring that. So it's usually tied to some sense of lack as a child, and that inner child then closes off. And there's a fear, like in the first case, where I'm dumb, and if I try to express that innocence and play, then people are going to think I'm dumb. So it's sort of obvious once you see where it is that that's going to be why they're not doing it. Or the other person, they didn't get any validation and they feel such a hole within themselves because of that, that they just don't even want to look at that wound or even explore what that means, and they become very serious. So a lot of it has to do with the inner child.
Yeah. I've seen through your content there's like an idea. I'd like to hear your touch on it. A lot of people suffer with shame, and I think that's kind of what we're touching on here.
Yes.
How does playfulness and fun maxing kind of overlaps or heal, like recover, redirect shame?
Yeah. Yeah, so shame, I forget what the terminology is, but there's a resonant frequency scale and they go by hundreds. Shame and guilt are at like 200. I mean, their anger is a higher vibration than shame and guilt. Truly, pure survival, raw survival is the lowest,
Mm-hmm.
and shame and guilt is barely a notch above. So people
Yeah.
that feel guilty and shameful, they're barely surviving. Like literally on a scientific scale, they are vibrating very, very low. And fun maxing is meant for people who need to reconnect to that play and get over the shame, because it's just fully diving in to not being ashamed anymore. Once you get that spark back and feel that true intention, and usually watching other people helps bring it out. Like seeing me do goofy things, watching other people, and just seeing people talk about it and not be afraid to wear their heart on their sleeve. And that usually starts letting people kind of creep out and feel better. And the shame and guilt, I think, one, watching other people express themselves that have their genuine best interest at heart, just wanting to share that light. Those people, part of that shame comes from losing trust in others. So I think
Mm-hmm.
part of it is like it's almost like a dog that's really scared and you're trying it's abused and you're like, come here, here's a bowl of food. And they're like, inching towards you, but they're not quite sure if you're gonna hit them, and they're afraid to eat the food. So
Mm-hmm.
it's being like that first kind soul to be like, hey, like I'm not gonna hurt you, here it is. And that usual first experience with people, at least opens their eyes enough where they're more open to exploring it. And I think that's why videos I make and videos like you make and people that are just expressing that authenticity, that's at least putting the food bowl down. And the first step to exploring it is just, I think, inspiration from someone else is a great way to do it. And that shame and guilt, what it all comes down to, and this goes for any spirituality, is your beliefs, your beliefs, your beliefs, your beliefs. Your belief system is the most crucial thing for how you navigate reality. And it is step one, step two, step three. Every step you go on your journey, you always tie it back to your beliefs and rewriting them. I find a very good framework with shame, or really any, is in the past, I used to believe X. Now I believe Y. And then that allows your conscious mind and your nervous system to get a logical take on how to do it. And then you can sink it into your subconscious and start reframing the parameters of your reality. So it would be like, in the past, I was ashamed of expressing my playful side, but now I express my playfulness without thinking or without worrying about what someone else would think about it. And it can be that simple. It can be very complex too. And the more you just rewrite those beliefs, you can even take it and expand a layer deeper, where it's like, as I express, I feel happier. Or as I have fun, my life gets easier. Like, you start creating this infinite open expansiveness where you're sort of incentivizing yourself to do these things, and you get as much energy as you can in an infinity symbol, because it feeds into each other, right? Like an eight. So the more beliefs you can make that start feeding into each other in a positive, uplifting way, the more your energy can just keep rising up. So really find that spark of inspiration, which is a big part of what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to just connect with anyone else who's doing the same. And that will open their eyes, and then just teach people about their beliefs, because it ties to your physical body, your subconscious body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. And from there, once you've gotten enough of that energy flowing, you can really start to make big quantum jumps. It's like, you don't need to have all your beliefs perfect to do it, but the more expansive and healed you are, the easier it is to jump. It's never impossible, but it's like you just start getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and you can just jump more and more the better your beliefs are. So it's, I never want to tell someone, you're stuck and you have all this work to do. It's like, some people, I've seen crazy stuff where they just jump, but it's just going to be a lot easier if you can use your beliefs to reframe guilt. And then also, just, I always think, when I close my eyes, just imagining hugging your inner child, whatever trauma or thing happened, like you didn't have friends. It's like you hug that version and say, I'm your friend. Like, I'm so glad that you did XYZ. It led me into being who I am now. I'm your friend. And sort of having that inner understanding that all versions of yourself are here right now. And by you, basically time traveling, by you telling your inner child, your past self, that sort of affirmation, you heal them in the past, which heals you now, which sort of recreates your current self, because that inner child that had that trauma is actually seeing it through a different lens. It's almost like, punching a mirror and rearranging the fragments of glass to reflect something different. You didn't change what was there, but you're just changing the way it's reflecting back to you, sort of thing.
Totally.
So a mix of there's so many ways to approach it, which is why it's so promising, because I truly believe there's a way that works for everybody. And it's just about figuring out what images and templates resonate the most with any particular person, really.
Yeah, that's wonderful articulation. Great analogies as well. I think this is really, it speaks deeply and it resonates with me on an energetic level. But when we're speaking about how what we are is like what we practice, and when we're actually talking about the physical application of, let's say, one of your specialties like play, how does it actually look? What does it actually look like for someone to not only just like have an idea of how to start to work on changing your beliefs or focusing on what your beliefs really are for that reframing? how do we actually, how does it look like to actually check ourselves for what we practice? And how does that relate to who we are energetically into like a material or physical reality?
Do you mean, so how do you make an accountability method to enforce it and start living it?
Yeah, what does it look like? Like if people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to change my beliefs. I don't believe in that," or "I don't see how that could help." What are some of the actionable steps, or what is, for example, what does even fun maxing even look like? Are we like cliff jumping? Are we bike riding? Like what is it, what does it look like?
Yeah, so step one is have a written out version. Like I've made, anyone could make their own, but like I've made a workbook that has the template laid out for you, like belief one, and then the steps of what to do and how to change it and then expand it. And so
Wow.
you can make your own, but I've made a workbook on that just so it's super easy for people. Like you just want to cut all the excuses out because the ego is going to try to cling to any excuse to stay comfortable where it is. So make it as simple as possible and share it with people. So yeah, make a document that's super simple that you can just go on Google Docs or on your notes and just change it so that it's very easy. Make the separation between you and that action as small as possible. If it's on your phone or Google Docs, there's way less tension and space between you doing it. So one
Hmm.
is just make it as easy as possible. Uh, make your beliefs open enough to where you can start feeling your true self. And then from there, the next step after beliefs is setting clear intentions and knowing what that means. And like Naruto, Luffy, they have a very one track mind, a very clear but simple intention. The simplicity is what's childlike and light about it. Like
Yeah.
me saying, I want to be the best fun shaman in the world that spreads the most fun and something lighthearted like that. It's like that.
Delightful.
Yeah, like that's sort of like, I guess if I had to put it into a simple, for me, I just think of it like I want to do the most authentic expression of my career for the highest good of the world and myself. That's what I tell myself. And I guess it kind of, you could just say, oh, I want to be the fun maxing shaman that makes a huge change. So the more beliefs you open up, the better you're connected, and the more you can start tapping into that clear intention. If you don't know what it is, like you don't know if you want to be Hokage or be an astronaut or this or that, always, always, always fall back to the default of I set my intention to be aligned with the most authentic version of myself for the highest good of myself in the world. That's like a very good default. So anyone
Hmm.
who's struggling, just always keep that as your baseline because that will guide you where you need to go. So
Yeah.
once you have a parameter set, this is where fun maxing, these are all steps of fun maxing, but this next step to me is where it really starts flowing at its true level that people who watch my content would see is what I'm saying. So after
Hmm.
those two steps sort of come into play, this is when the third step becomes the easiest and when it applies the most is then once you have that intention, you can take the leash off because a lot of people are so afraid of taking the leash and the muzzle off because they're afraid of either, I mean, it could be so many things. They're going to hurt someone else. They're going to hurt themselves. They don't trust themselves to be a good person. They don't trust themselves to be XYZ, right? So people muzzle themselves and put a leash on. And because they don't have a clear intention, they hop, they hop, they hop, and they don't know where the hell they are. And then they're scared and confused. So that intention is basically going out to your backyard with a fence and you can let the dog out and it can run as crazy as it wants because it's safe in the yard. So it's your intention is creating a backyard that you can run in. And as you get more connected to yourself, you can start taking the fence away and have it just be complete infinite expansion. But it just fun maxing starts with make an intention and then take the leash off because then you're in the safe little backyard and start learning to trust yourself. Like, oh wait, okay, like I am a good person. I don't have to think about being a good person. I actually held the door open for them and made a joke and a compliment. Like instead of thinking about everything, it's like you just start easing into that flow state of like, okay, it's a lot of trust with yourself. It's like, okay, I actually am not a dick. Like I did hold the door open for that old lady. Okay. And then, it's like I did buy that. I made that compliment. That girl did smile at me. Like it's starting to let yourself be in the moment. And I think some people can go straight for the fences and jump over them, but just for the average person, letting the fence expand little by little is what's going to allow fun maxing to really, really resonate. So build yourself a safe container and then let go and flow and play with reality and trust yourself. And as you keep trusting yourself more and more, the fence goes further and further until there is no fence. And then eventually, a state where I find myself at a lot recently is pure play, where it's very, very playful and my vibration feels very aligned. And I'm seeing more people like that.
Yeah.
Your vibration feels very aligned and light and fun. And there's a lot of creators that I just love watching that really hit that sort of sweet spot. And yeah, so that's how fun maxing, that's like a step by step of how to get there. And then it just becomes self trust into a clear intention with your beliefs bringing you more and more expansive energy. And then good luck just starts finding you because you're just flowing as yourself and seeing what's in front of you. Like I said, being a shaman was starting to see everything like glass.
Yeah.
And seeing what is right in front of you is why the fool succeeds. It's why fun maxing works because they are literally looking at what's there. Everybody else has these hazy mirrors, these circus mirrors where there's illusions and this and that. And they're lost, scared, confused. The fool just sees a plain piece of glass that he's looking through. He's like, oh, there's a bird. Oh, there's that. And it's, let's mix these things together. How do I play with it and do that? And everyone else is like, oh, this thought, how do I make that person like me? This, that. And it's making the mirror, it's turning it into a warped mirror instead of a looking glass.
Yeah.
And that's the fool just sees straight through and plays with what's there and trusts their intention, trust that the universe is always conspiring in their favor. And they lean into that more and more. And then it just keeps flowing, and you just start viewing life as positivity and potential positivity. There's no more negativity. Even something extreme where you go through grief and someone close to you passes, something very intense. It doesn't mean that you bypass going through sadness. It doesn't mean any of that. You still go through the necessary grief and release, but you know that any anything I used to view as negative is now a potential positive. I don't even view it as negative anymore because it's like, how can I sift for the gold wisdom in this? I know there's a nugget. No matter how dense, how dark, I'm like, there will be a time when I'm ready to sift. You don't force it. You don't skip sadness. You don't discredit anyone. You don't just say, oh, it's love and light. Like, no. You just know that you can find the gold wisdom in whatever comes your way, and you do it when you're ready, and you don't force it, and you listen to your body. And that's how fun maxing can apply to even darkness, sadness, because when you focus on negativity, it breeds and it makes more and more and more. Misery loves company. So even on a global scale, these huge problems in the world, fun maxing is in no way to ignore something bad happening, to not help other people, to just have fun. Like, I'm not talking about playing video games or drinking or golfing. I mean fun as flowing as your authentic self, and a real fun. You don't focus on the negativity because it makes more. You go all in on being the best version of yourself for the highest good of the world and yourself. And that version, what you create by being that person, will be the most effective tool to helping the masses. And if everyone just went in on that sort of energy, they would come up with better solutions because you're in a solution mindset. Literally, positivity, potential positivity. Instead of that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem. It's, like, how do I sift the gold out of this? How do I find a way to help this situation? Like, it's that's the best part about it to me is there's no ignorance of negativity. If anything, you're just learning how to be a solution oriented person with everything you do.
I love all of that. That was amazing, Ryan. You're saying some really powerful stuff. I'm sure anyone listening right now will be benefiting from this information. I to close this off, I'd really love to hear if there was any time you can recall in your life, especially like earlier in your journey, where you've met someone who's really lightened the load and the energy in the room, someone who's just really exhibited or displayed true authenticity and like playfulness and fun lightheartedness. Is there anyone you can recall who kind of brought that energy that inspired you or kind of made you realize or be in touch with this kind of path?
You have such great questions. It makes
Thanks,
it
Ryan.
easy to answer when you have such a good question.
Maybe I should do
Um,
podcasts or something.
you should. You make it easy. It's like throwing a meatball. It's an underhand pitch, easy to hit a home run. I'll give you credit for that.
Oh, thanks, Ryan.
Um, yeah, and someone, this answer isn't what I would expect. I would say actually not seeing people in my day-to-day life living that way. I'd see people on content and see people that seemed like they were having fun. I would say actually me noticing a gap in that authentic expression and just sort of feeling like there wasn't much is what activated me into doing it. It wasn't as much as seeing someone, it was actually like, this is so sad. Like, why is everyone just imitating each other? Like, what is going on here? Like, I feel like for me, it was more, I dabbled with that expression and I was always a little bit myself. Like, I was in a fraternity and I was very open about being the spiritual guy. And my friends were good friends. I mean, we'd make jokes about it as guys do about everything, but it wasn't, a lot of people follow a certain format. I would say I had a few friends really that my friend Alex that I came across, he opened my eyes to, wow, there really are young people doing this. So I'd give him credit because that was when I came into a sort of scary moment of where do I go from here? Like I'm starting to fall off the rails even more because I don't see a path. Like I want to explore this. I don't know what to do. He was a huge help for me because I just saw that he did not care at all. He was fully like, I am going to get more with he's a year and a half younger than me even. I'm 26 and I was 21 when I started. He was like 19 or 20. So that's crazy. But yeah, so he inspired me just to like he didn't care what anyone thought. So actually yes, there was people, but it just took a little longer. Like high school and early college wasn't really there. Um so he inspired me just to explore and expand and really just have a thirst and a quest for expanding consciousness. So I appreciate him for that. My teacher that I met, the first time I met him, I was like, whoa. Like it just all clicked and was like, this guy knows how to expand. And I'd give the most credit of all to my grandma, for sure. To point out someone who would come into a room and she's still alive, luckily for me to this day. She's just always been this ball of light and warmth for me to explore and to not be afraid to ask questions. So really it was her as I aged, just always being that open door where everyone wants to close a door. She was an open door. And I was like, what's this? What's that? What's that? And she'd usually hit me back with another question. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, here's the answer. It was very much, she'd entertain it, but it was always in a way that lets me explore. So my grandma, I'm so blessed that, and my grandpa too, but she really just, she was a person that always gave me an outlet to explore the light, even in my times where I really got lost. She was always there in a way that a teacher is, not to spoon feed you everything, but in a way to let me ask the questions and to realize that sometimes the question is the answer. Stop
Yeah.
looking for an answer to everything. The question is the answer. That's a
Wow.
really big thing I learned from her. Like,
That's powerful.
yeah. So my grandma would be that person. A couple friends along the way. A friend, Evan, in my frat was also just so openly goofy and goofball that it was encouraging to be like, okay, like he really doesn't care at all. And yeah,
I
just
love that person.
yeah, and but the more I have just stepped into it, And now that I'm just flowing as that person, it activates it in everyone around me. At work, in my day to day at the store, by being that light, fun person, you are holding out your hand like an invite for everyone else's inner child to come out and play. And now it's like on a day to day basis, I'm seeing people have that spark of joy come back. And yeah, it's just really awesome. Like I'm just so hopeful and optimistic for the world really seeing from a sort of fifth dimensional consciousness where you can either view everything as negative, everything is neutral, or everything is positive. And I just really feel like there's alignment with that everything is positive, authenticity based dimension of reality that I really feel like people are starting to elevate to. And I really think I have a good feeling. I'm not a doomer. I'm not buying into the negativity. We figured it out. Humans always figure it out. We've always gotten better. The Rational Optimist, great book to read. It lays out how, history talks about all the bad stuff. You just got to keep evolving, keep having faith in your fellow humans. And I just believe that we're doing better than everyone thinks. And not to discredit any of the bad, but I just have a good feeling.
Wow, Ryan, you're amazing. You're so powerful. Thank you for your work and for spreading love and fun and play. I'm really appreciative of having you speak for us today. You're incredible. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. And like I said, giving really easy questions to dive into. And I really enjoy your openness with these interviews. I really think that there's a lot here. There's a lot of people that are going to benefit from being able to express whatever little nook of expansiveness they have to share with the world. I feel like you just make it easy and keep doing your thing.
Thank you so much, Ryan, and you too. If people want to work with you, Ryan, where can they find you?
So on my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, I have a link to my school community, and also a link to my website. It's just shamanryan.com. I have a list of services where you can join my community, which I just launched today. And then, so big success there for just getting it done. And then you can sign up for one-to-one sessions with me. The first one's usually a little longer, like 90 minutes. Second one and beyond are usually more like an hour, but go to that website and sign up with me if you're curious. But look at my school community. It's a great way to start meeting people in the FunMaxing mindset. And that's the goal, is like, let's just build a community of people that just want to have fun with what they're doing in their career and let that make them even better at it and help the collective as much as possible.
I love that. Let's rise up together. If you guys work with Ryan, work with Ryan if this resonates, guys. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Yeah.